The three
Recording in
amigos.
progress.
We have microphones. We have headphones. Some of us have facial hair. Some of us don't. Welcome back to Still Single.
Can we just own how not tech savvy or like high class production we are? We've got 10 minutes late, doesn't have a link. I had a robot voice microphone underwater that made me lose
sound
my
great
mind.
now, though.
Now I do. Now we're back.
And you've got a good shirt on. Tell
Thanks,
us about
guys.
what are you wearing? Tell us about your shirt.
I have honestly probably 8 to 9 navy button-down shirts.
Oh, I just thought you had one this whole time. I didn't realize.
It's a fair assumption. I dress like a damn cartoon character.
No, you have great style. I see you have suits. You have a navy suit. How many suits you got?
I have a lot, but they're all navy.
So navy is your color. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Jordan,
Thanks,
what kind of
Rob.
suits you
Really
got?
assuring me.
Got a few. I have a tan suit. I have a brown suit. I have a royal navy blue suit, and then another like navy suit with pinstripes.
God.
And I have a black suit that doesn't fit me anymore. But it does it doesn't fit.
Why doesn't
that
it
great.
fit you anymore?
Well, it was gifted from
shredded.
a friend, and training kind of hard, and so it was a tight-fitting suit to begin with. So I've never properly worn it. I tried the jacket on. I was like, yeah, this jacket fits. And then when I tried the whole suit on, I was like, wait, there's a reason why he's gifting it to me.
I bought a suit the other day. It's tan. I've only worn it
Nice.
once.
Nice.
That's
I
a
felt
lot
like
of
Barack
tan.
Obama when I wore the tan suit. I wore it to a wedding in New York, end of July.
Is
Well
tan
received.
a sexy color? Like, is tan hot?
I had a tan blazer that I thought was so cool, and I didn't really think it was attractive. I don't think I'm bold statement. I don't think women are attracted to tan.
So women don't like tan.
What? I disagree. Wholeheartedly disagree with that.
I've got a
sentiment.
tan suit. I think I'm gonna wear it out this weekend.
It's
And
just a lot of material because you're 6'3". It's a lot of tan.
What suit does Noah wear in The Notebook? Let's just get all the gifts out early. Let's hit all the buttons on the early end of this show.
Oh, I love that movie so much. So much.
The overalls and the straps.
So what are we talking about today? Do we have a topic? Because I know we've been texting a lot. There's been a lot of activity this week between the three of us. Jordan had a viral video, which is very exciting. Snaps to you, Jordan.
Thanks, guys.
Alex bought more Navy shirts, and I am still struggling with depression daily.
Well, no, didn't your movie got accepted into a festival?
Yes, Catalina Film Festival. And I just woke up to another announcement. We got accepted into the Los Angeles Film Festival.
Nice.
So
Ghosted.
Yeah.
Ghosted. Spooky.
Spooky. I told my dad about Rob. My dad loves Rob, loves Jordan. I told my dad about what the film is, Rob's late wife visiting him, and that it's a romantic comedy. My dad just goes, sounds spooky. He can't unhear it. So now every time I bring it up, he just goes, spooky stuff.
Spooky, Rob. Proud of you with that spooky film. I love you, Frank. So we've got some questions. We've got some voice notes from the audience, and also,
Yeah, I actually literally got a text message right before we started recording too it was a question directed straight to me, but I think it's a good question for all of us. So
nice. I say we just dive right in,
Yeah.
Let's just get in it.
Well, into questions, or do we want to save that for later and then chat about?
I got one too from Sarah. We can do them later or now.
You want questions off the bat? Okay.
Well, here's one thing that I do really love about the podcast is that yesterday I had a 30-minute call with Jordan, and then later that day had a 30-minute call with Rob about love and life. So this is very authentic, I would say.
Oh my God, we text every day.
We're on a still single text thread.
Still single, and we send each
let's
other
show it off.
memes and screenshots of texts, and we just talk about love and life. Still
Hopefully
single.
not too much is reading on there. That'd be
It's
okay.
Pretty good.
No,
we share podcasts.
We do, inspiration, all that kind of stuff. It's I mean, is that any different than regular group chats? Does that feel?
Some of my group chats are like really bro heavy.
What does that mean?
Things like all we do is talk about sports.
That's bro heavy. That's very Chicago, right?
You in a lot of like fantasy football leagues?
I'm in only one because the one year that I tried to be in 2 fantasy football leagues, I hated it. It was too much fantasy.
Yeah.
All right, why don't we kick off with a question? Or Jordan, do you have something to kick us off with?
The top one of the topics that I wanted to talk about was, I mean, we touch on like DTRing, but just like being more publicly comfortable posting with someone from of the opposite sex. I posted, I did this photo shoot for this hotel for my company, Stayamo. So I had a photographer come in and shot with this girl, and the comments that were coming in and the DMs that I were getting were like, congratulations, you guys look great. You're so cute together. And I was like, that's not my girlfriend.
Well, in people's defense, the photo wasn't like shoulder to shoulder at like a wishing well fountain. You all are like in a dreamscape on like one of those plush couches.
Yeah, you were laying on your back while she was standing over you, almost like spitting in your mouth.
That is not even close. First of all, I got that photo inspo from Pinterest. So like trying to recreate this, like
Are you sure it wasn't Pornhub? Because it looked erotic.
So are you saying I screwed up more so than just trying to be more commonly open about having people of the opposite sex, or someone that you know, depending on if you're, you know, gay or lesbian, in the interest on that side?
You were a model doing a photo shoot, right?
Yeah.
So I think maybe that didn't come across as much as like, I'm on a vacation working with this person. It was might be spitting in my mouth. Yeah.
Should we talk about that? Like fetishes on that end? Yeah.
Wow.
Whoa,
wow.
That's a hard pivot into spit in my mouth.
So I'm in the wrong there. Okay. But what is your stance on, I mean, Rob, you recently were soft launched, or at least like
hard launched.
It was hard.
I guess it was a soft launch.
I would say it's a soft launch because it was in a carousel and you were like 4th or 5th down in a group setting. So there wasn't.
I was extremely flattered to be soft launched, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I will say that just going back to your photo shoot, when I saw it, I was just looking in the comment of like, yeah, like so fun working with so-and-so, or like, I don't know. It seemed like couple, like it seemed like you guys were a couple based on the photos. That's all, which is okay.
How's it going?
When's the save the date going?
Yeah, that's Alex's immediate response. That, you know, I thought it meant something with this girl that I was seeing last summer, that it was like, man, our vibe was amazing, but he's just said it with any time.
SaveTheDate.com.
Yeah, SaveTheDate.com. Yeah. And so
she was very, very attractive. She's so pretty.
Yes, I'm not denying that. I think it's just the general, and I think that's where the blurred lines come in with social media, I guess. You know, we talk a lot about the question that Helen presented a few weeks ago that was just like, do we think dating apps are good or bad for society? And also, where does social media play into the importance of, there's soft launching, there's hard launching, there's like putting someone in your story, like publicly doing that.
This hits something home to me of, I am becoming there's virtual reality, and then there's reality. Because I'm like, what are we really talking about? We're talking about like this digital Instagram reality that we live in. Mm-hmm. And then we have like our 3D life that we live in. And so really I have 2 responses. Like, one is the digital one just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter.
It really doesn't.
And if it's at all negatively impacting the 3D reality, and I've had that because we live in this tricky time where it's like, did you share or did you tag this person or are you with it? We live in this really tricky, you're like making a movie about your life while you're trying to live your life. And this is the second thing I'll say is what is more scary to me is that sometimes I've gone into experiences with the virtual reality being the top priority. And even though, and that hasn't even been conscious, I'll just note myself making a shot list or almost evaluating the experience on, did I get a good video, or finding more validation in people DMing me being like, that looks cool, or that was fun, or I connect with you versus the actual life. Does that make sense with you guys?
100%. I can resonate with that like wholeheartedly. And I think what we try and do is we prop up or we almost quantify human experiences based on how much engagement we get on social media with the video content. And granted, the three of us are content creators, so we're constantly like putting content out there, and like that is a validation point. But when it comes to dating, I've noticed that like I'll match with somebody on a dating app and I'll be like, damn, she's gorgeous. Like she just looks really good. And then I'll even slide into Instagram and I'm like, whoa, those are some great bikini pics. Like she's really attractive. And then I meet her and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, no, I mean, it's not like she's like a burn victim, but she's just, sorry, that's so fucked up. Burn victims are pretty too. You guys are like, oh, Rob, I'm sorry. I just,
Rob edits the podcast, so if this makes it to your ears, he feels good about it.
No, there's nothing wrong with being in a fire and getting a little bit of burns. Nothing wrong with that. And it's okay sometimes.
So are you bringing up like getting catfish? Like I know
it's not necessarily a full catfish. It's like there's a presence or persona that we all put out on social media. And I think that applies also to dating app photos. And then when you meet the person in the wild and in real life, you're like, ooh, that wasn't what I was expecting. Whether you're a burn victim or not.
Of course. But Alex, I want to bring up going back to the validation thing because
I agree. Let's just skip Rob's.
I just don't feel it's a hot topic, pun intended a little bit, that I'm just not wanting to walk through right now. But I do want to bring up.
Go. Yeah.
But there is this validation, and I want to say that like one thing about our friendship, Alex, is that you and I have very, very different tastes in women, and there are times though when you start seeing someone and you're like, you think she's pretty, right? Do you think she and I always come back where it's like it doesn't matter if I think she is like that valid because we have different tastes, but also like if you find this person attractive and if you're into it, then like great.
I know what you're saying. And this does happen. It's like, I mean, it's from like a Seinfeld thing too. It's like, basically we want our friends to think well of us. So it's like, if we go out with someone and we're into them, we'll be like, but you love them too. Right. And then it's like the classic thing of when you do break up with someone and your friends are like, yeah, we never thought it was the right fit. We just didn't want to tell you during it.
Well, I heard this stand-up comedian be like, you're not dating like a smoke show when your friends look at a photo of her and they go, oh, I'm just really happy for you. I'm really happy for you. Because if she's a smoke show, they'll be like, hey, does she have a sister? Like, does she have a sister you can hook me up with? And I mean, the bit is, what are you going to say?
Do you feel like, I'm trying to reverse it here, of if we've ever catfished someone, meaning like we showed up and they were like, oh, you don't look like your photos or your personality is different than. I've gotten that for like, I've actually gotten it in a good way of some people have been like, based off your social media, I thought you were just going to be like a headache. Like I thought you were going to be kind of like too much, a lot. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Like, let's hang out with me for another few days. Just wait on it.
Yeah. Three dates. He's a lot. All right. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I've been experiencing that. I guess with the like sobriety conversation, like I have to, hey, do you want to go get a drink? And then we get a drink and then we're ordering and I'm like, yeah, can I get a non-alcoholic beer or like a seltzer? And they're like, what's that about?
And the bartender's like, can you say it louder? I didn't hear you. Can you say it so everyone?
Can I just get a juice, please? Let me get an orange juice, no pulp. No, I'm just kidding. I've never ordered that. But yeah, I think it's not catfishing because it's not based on looks, but it's definitely one of those like, oh, like I can see them processing it as like in real life. What about you, Jordan? Do you ever have just like women be like, whoa, I thought he was going to have more abs than he does?
No, because I actually don't think I have any shirtless pictures when I was doing the dating apps.
Sure.
How about videos on TikTok?
Yeah, there's that. That's why I think it's such a great dating platform, but that's a whole other conversation. What I really do want to talk about is, do you think pulp is a thing that you get more comfortable with as you get older? Like,
yeah, that's the hard hitting.
As a kid, like,
was that a deflect? Was that an orange juice pulp deflect?
Yeah, I was
just thinking about it a lot because I do really like, because with coconut water, I really like when there's the chunks and the pulp in there versus, I guess I'm more comfortable with it with the orange juice than when I was a kid.
Not all pulp is created equal.
For sure. But I mean, I would say no, I've definitely never catfished anyone or like presented myself one way, because that's starting something out with a lie. And in that case, you're already off on like the wrong foot.
I mean, in an earlier episode, Alex, you mentioned to me like, Rob, do you ever want to just go out and like not be a single dad and not be a widower and just be like Bobby Westside and, and just going out and have some fun.
Wear
and
a big tan suit.
Yeah, just wear a big tan suit and just strut around. The reality is, sure, like, yes, but then my truth is my truth, like who I am and what makes me is this, single dad, widow, like this is my story. And for, there's like the casual one night stand kind of Bobby Westside in a tan suit, but that doesn't really lead to anything meaningful. That's just like, fun night out.
Say you were, I guess maybe on the dating apps, you have, that you're a widower and you have a daughter. Say you met someone in real life. When in that journey would you kind of let them into your world?
It's a great question. I usually, like within the first, 30 minutes of conversing, because I like Leia is the background photo of my phone, and I love sharing photos of my daughter. I'm obviously obsessed and very proud of her. And I think the widower portion is harder, but it's like helpful in just describing like who I'm at and people understanding. I always get worried that people are like, is he divorced? Which for some reason, it's like, who cares if you're divorced? It's great. But maybe I have my own blockage of, worry. But maybe that's an insecurity of mine, that like people will assume that I'm divorced rather than widowed. I don't know.
Well, let's unpack that, because I think maybe a lot of our listeners might be divorced. My parents are divorced. Let's unpack that.
I don't know. I guess that's for me something very sensitive. My parents are divorced as well, and my mom's remarried. But I don't know. There's something about, he's divorced with a kid that to me sounds, I guess, worse than like, he lost his wife to cancer and he has a kid. It's just a different narrative. Sure. Is it not?
100%. Yeah, it's this weird stigma that comes with it, of just like, they tried it, didn't work out. He has this like baggage of a failed relationship.
Yes.
Versus your story.
It's interesting. I feel like, and it's all of our own, and maybe Rob, maybe it's also your parents that, lingers there or something like that. Because I'm thinking of, potential like some people listening who might be divorced. And I guess my lens on it is also, you know, that kind of like second lease on life. So if I were to go on, I actually find it, if I were to go on a date with someone and they were like, yeah, I'm divorced. And I think this is just for my own journey with my parents, you know, because they argued a lot, like for most of my life. And there probably could have been different moments throughout when it happened and it didn't till later. I'm almost like, good for you. Like, good for you to recognize that, you know, you went for it. We all go pedal down. We all go mile a minute. You went for it. You gave it a go and it didn't work out. And it's rather than staying somewhere that you're unhappy, you've, you know, gotten out of it and second lease on life. Yeah.
I first of all, second lease on life is a beautiful thing. I've dated divorced women before, and they were absolutely lovely. And like the divorce part, when I was dating them, didn't really matter to me. It was like, oh, okay, like that's, you know, they have to talk to their ex because they share custody of their children. So it's like it's just a reality of their situation. But it was never looking down on them. I think it's just my own insecurity revolved around divorce and being like, no, I'm not divorced. I'm widowed. Like that's me, you know? And I don't know what that is, but it's definitely a push for me. I've noticed in my dating saga.
And it might even be, and I don't mean, it might even be just the fact of like your love for Noelle and just like that. No, you're not divorced. And also, regardless of theoretical, that's what happened. Like that's your life journey is you're not divorced. You know, you lost Noelle. Yeah.
I've also noticed lately, like when I'm sharing these stories of like, yeah, I'm a widower. I've been meeting women and they're like, oh, I just lost my mom, or like my mom died earlier this year. And I'm just like, really? And like, I don't want to say that I'm like gravitating death, but there's like a weird, as I open up more about dealing with grief and death and loss, there are more people coming into my orbit that are also experiencing grief and loss and death. And I'm just like, and I find we can connect on that. No one's gonna die in your families, guys. I'm just.
Oh God!
No, you're not a bad.
About that till...
Yeah, you're not a bad omen with that. But one thing that comes in my head of us talking about how there's like this negative connotation around like being divorced, and I know I brought this up in the past, is that Dan Savage talks about how the way that we view marriage or a successful relationship is that someone passes away. It's like till death do us part, and like so there is maybe this background thought process that it's not a divorce because that's a failed thing, you know, and that's not technically true, and it's a little antiquated, but that just like kept popping in my head as we're wondering with this negative stigma versus, you know, there's a little more empathy and sympathy towards your story.
That's really interesting. I've never heard that before of like, you know, it's basically like, what is your metric of success for a relationship, right?
Exactly.
Is it that one of you passed?
Right.
And you made it that long till, I don't know, I'm curious.
Or
what
even just think? The years, the metric of the years of how long you've been married. It's like we were married for 50 years. We were married for 60 years or 30 years. I mean, even my mom, who's been remarried, she got remarried when I was 10. She's been remarried for 24 years. And she's like, we've been doing this for 24 years through thick and thin. Yeah. And I'm like, and I know, I'm like, I've seen it. I've seen the good. I've seen the bad. I've seen the ugly. And like, I respect the shit out of them for just like re-upping every year and every season, being like, I'm committed to this person. And their relationship has not been easy. Like they blended a family, and I'm really proud of them. Like that they've stuck it out. Yeah. It's and equally proud of somebody who, if they're in a relationship that isn't working, decides to end it. I think that's a beautiful thing and takes a lot of courage too.
Of course. Yeah. Being able to walk away from an experience with someone that can be looked upon. So this goes back to the short-term, long-term relationship thing of, hey, we ran this course. It was a season of life, and I still have love for you, but we're just not a fit. Like we're wanting different things, and they're just, I think that there needs to be a viewpoint. I think that the challenge is, what is the metric of success, and being more comfortable with, hey, for 4 months, we had a great, intense, amazing experience. or it was 2.5, 3 years, 4 years, depending on however it is. And you decided to just re-up over time and then finally came to a head where you're like, this isn't benefiting us, or like your parents or like my parents who have been in a very long committed relationship through thick and thin and they're just invested in it. They're committed to it because, everyone's just kind of different, but it's what the relationship brings to each other's lives.
It is interesting. Like, is that, and I think it is a successful relationship where, because we also, so you date someone, let's say it's for a year, let's say it's for 2 years, let's say it's for longer or shorter, but you have wonderful experiences, you grow, maybe you learn things from each other, you learn about yourself, and then it ends, that is in itself maybe a successful relationship. And I think maybe, and I'm reflecting kind of back on some of my chapters, and this is something I've really actively tried to work on in the last season of life, let's say 5 years, not perfectly, is like a loving departure versus, I think kind of in my 20s, I had this notion that it needed to be dramatic, and I'm a little bit dramatic by nature. And so, I think that's like a measure of a successful relationship too.
It's like how the breakup goes is the metric.
I think I'm workshopping that.
I am terrible at breaking up.
How do you do it? Let's do a mock role play with Rob and Jordan.
Oh my God. I'm like this. I'm such a Scorpio when it comes to ending relationships.
What
and
is
it's
that
not only,
Is that your birth chart? Is that when
I am a Scorpio.
Okay.
And I'm just
Alex, what are you? Let's let the audience
I'm a
know.
Virgo. And I've gotten that I'm a pretty Virgo-y Virgo.
Classic Virgo.
What are you, Jordan?
I'm a Pisces.
Ooh.
It's the eyes. Aren't all Pisces? Don't they have piercing eyes?
I love a good Pisces. My high school sweetheart was a Pisces.
Oh.
She drove me crazy. I love her.
Can we do a mock breakup? This might get very weird and awkward, but let's try it with Rob. Rob, can you?
Oh my God, I'm the worst.
Who is she? Who is she?
No, there's no one. There's no one else.
I threw your phone the other day. Who is she?
No, first of all, why are you looking through my phone?
Yeah, that's really toxic.
No, I mean,
my gosh.
I've also noticed this with even work relationships. If they go sour, I break up in a very intense way, and I've been reflecting on this, and
Me too.
I think what happens is I get really stressed and anxious on the inside, whether this is a loving relationship or a business relationship or any kind of relationship, even if it's like a parental on my, my mom's on my ass for something, and it boils up inside, and then I lash out, and I lash out in a way that I don't call names. I'm not mean. I just get very I can't do this anymore. Mm-hmm. And then I peace out, and then I get really quiet, and I almost get secluded, and I don't communicate. And I have a really hard time communicating through my feelings. And only recently am I sharing as much as I can to try and not blow up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I relate. I'm curious, Jordan, if that hits for you. I definitely relate to that.
Sure. I think a metric for me is I am really bad at that too. Having difficult conversations is something that I just build up, and especially in relationship stuff until I do, the lashing out and trying not to do that more and more. But the metric for me, a little bit of how meaningful the relationship truly was, is how emotional I get after the breakup happens. Because once again, this is the Pisces in me, is if I'm around someone that's crying, I just kind of crumble. But if I'm by myself and reviewing, and if I then get emotional and I am brought to tears from that of sadness, then that I understand the weight that relationship and that person had on me. So I've had breakups where I'm just cool, we're done, and that's it, and I'm good. And I'm okay, that's a barometer for me of knowing that I was all right, this really didn't mean that much, and that's okay, and this is the right step forward. And then other times it was whoa, this was really impactful, and I might have screwed up.
What about you, Webbs?
Get flagged. I don't know. I mean, I relate to both you guys. I mean, in things of breakup, and then I'm curious our other end of it when we've gotten broken up with or ended. But I think I relate to what Rob said. I've noticed that in work relationships too. I'm very like excited and eager to give opportunities, and then like I hope it goes well. And I'm, but I'm also like I'm very loyal. Like if it is a good thing, I'm like
Same.
yes. But then I'm kind of, I guess I'm just kind of like if it isn't, whether that's in work or relationships, I think I'm kind of just like okay, it's not. And definitely with a romantic relationship, I have a different communication than if it was a professional one. I don't, please see attached. But like, I think what I'm navigating in my own life, is just, I really want to be really upfront in communication. And I think I'm doing a really good job of that, but not a perfect job. And I think that also has to do with my people pleaserness and not wanting to disappoint people.
It's almost like the lash out, because I definitely lash out, and I've lashed out in past relationships where I'm just like, I can't do this. Like I'm totally overwhelmed and I can't do this. And like I just can't. And looking back, it's kind of not fair because you just like shut down. And it's just so much better to just be like, I'm really overwhelmed right now. Can we talk? Like, can you just give me some space and let me come back down to earth, and then we'll talk.
Yeah, needing to process stuff is really important for me, of just saying like, when your emotions are really running high, you're likely to say something that you maybe don't mean or like can't take back. And maybe you do mean it, but you're like, do I need to say that? I've definitely been in relationships in the past, and this is something I'm very not proud of, but I also think it's like a maturity thing and a lack of maturity then of just knowing I want to break up but not having the balls to do it. So just being a shitty boyfriend for a while and putting it on them to be like, okay, you break up with me. You be the one to end this. And I'm not proud of it, but it's, and I know I'm not alone in behaving that way too. So, but I think at the core, what this all comes back to is just like having communication, having that comfort, and
it's
you're said than done, obviously.
Well, going with it, I mean, I don't know. It's such an odd thing to say. There really has been only, one person that I really put myself out there and they were like, no. And, to Jordan's point though, she was so clear, like so clear. And I think, sometimes at least I have done this in my life, or I think we all do, is like, you try to keep it a little wishy-washy or gray area because, you don't want to maybe, and she was just like, I don't feel that way about you. And she's like, and I was like, not a lot for me to work with there. We can't really troubleshoot that.
And there was no great, like, so it was her being like, I'm not into this and I'll never be into this.
I definitely pitched the like, cool. So maybe we circle back and like, is it my abs? I'll talk to Jordan. Like, what do we need? Is it my height? I'll work with Rob. But like, I guess why I say it is like, it definitely stung because it also did plant the seed in my head of like, why? Like, why is she not? But I also realized that like love and beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And like, I know that I may be a cup of tea for someone and I might be heart garbage for another person, and that's okay. But I will say like her clarity, though painful, it was clear. Like, it didn't leave me lingering or wondering.
Sure.
Yeah. Excuse me. I would definitely appreciate like clarity. Like now that I'm dating, after Noelle died, I kind of just was like sprinting to this finish line that doesn't exist of like, get my life back together, fall in love, get remarried, move in. Like I was sprinting towards that goal because there was such a huge hole that was left, obviously. And now I'm a little bit more intentional with my questions of like, hey, do you want kids? Hey, do you want to have kids? Does it bother you that I have a child?
First date?
No, not first date. First date is just, hey, Bobby Westside, let's have some fun.
with a dash of vulnerability, with the story time
of course a little story time, but I try not to be like, hey, can I impregnate you later in life. Like, ew, that's so weird. Yeah, no, we don't talk about, but I'll ask like, hey, do you want to have kids on the first date? I think that's okay.
I think so too.
I mean, I don't date
With me. Do you want to have kids with me? Yeah.
I think that's, I mean, it's honestly the topics that come up on first dates for me. It's always like my daughter, Noelle, my late wife. It happens. Sobriety. These are like big parts of who I am. And they just come up. And
Alex, what do you talk about on a first date?
Well, I mean, this is such a fun topic, and I'd be curious to hear from listeners. By the way, we love the messages and voice notes. So send it to Robbie, send it to Jordan, send it to me. What you talk about on first dates. It's so refreshing and fun when both people, it almost feels like you're like, I don't know, skipping school together is the best analogy I can think of. When both of you are just like, hey, do you want to just get really real? Like, do you want to just like not do the where do you work? Where'd you grow up? How many siblings do you have? Do you know what I'm saying? And you just like, one of you is just like, so like, are you happy? You're just like, oh, okay. I don't know. And like, and it's just like, it almost, to me at least, and of course you want to find out all the other things, but to me, it's like, oh, okay, let's see if on a human being level, we might relate here. Because that is so much more telling to me than if we can just get along on like surface level. And I also think and maybe this is common with a lot of people, I also think like, I don't know, you just talk so much about your work and you talk so much about all that surface level stuff that if you're going to be like finding a real connection, it's like, why not dive in? Like, what are your favorite fruits?
Thank
like
you. Thank you
question.
so much. Thank you
What
so
are
much
your
for
three
bringing that up.
favorite
I appreciate that.
I almost said that on a date, Jordan, and I stopped myself because
why?
I didn't feel truthful.
I need to find this link that from the story of how psychology around the impacts. I sent it to my friend who's a PhD student in psychology, and I was
it
like,
Ralph's? Did Ralph's Grocery put it out?
No, definitely not. But it's such a good question. It really is. You really get to the good stuff. But I do agree with you, Alex, on, when I find myself, you almost go into, it is nice to kind of like hear that of like, hey, how long have you been in Colorado? Or, hey, like, oh, I just got from work. Work was crazy. Cool. Tell me. And I realize that they're like talking about it. And I'm like, actually, I don't care. And I'm sure you don't care and want to talk. You were just at work for the last like 8 hours, 10 hours of the day. Like, let's talk about something more fun. What was the last movie you cried watching? Stuff like that.
That's a great question.
Oh, you like that one more than the fruit? Okay,
well, I guess because it's very telling. It's because you cried. What if someone goes like, "Oh no, I don't cry."
I never. Yeah, because
I don't have tear ducts.
Yeah, I don't. Fair enough. Oh, and then you learn so much about them. The no tear ducts. That is crazy.
No empathy. Red flag.
Oh yeah.
Some people don't have it.
Should we do some questions? See, this is fun. I feel like we settle in after a little while.
Of course, you have to throw it out. So I do want to bring one thing up that went viral that isn't anything that we put out. So there was a Psychology Today article that came out, and everyone was like emphasizing this one thing that says the rise of lonely single men, dating apps, and a drastically changing relationship landscape. And the key points, the number one key point, and this is what everyone was flagging, was dating opportunities for heterosexual men are diminishing as healthy relationship standards increase, which is a bananas thing to say. But this goes back to a conversation that we had early in the podcast about men viewing women as possession over people, or just like the way that it's very antiquated of the woman, the comments that you see on the internet of men being like, go back to the kitchen, or all that kind of stuff, where what is truly, and this kind of is the umbrella of what's a healthy relationship, as we were talking about earlier in the pod.
I want to hear that. I want to make sure I understand that headline, because it almost had two storylines in that headline. The first storyline seemed to me, it's really tough dating as a male right now. It's isolating and technology. And I think that would go for men, women, everyone.
Right.
But then the second half. Yeah.
because it does say another key point is men represent approximately 62% of dating app users, lowering their chances for matches generally.
Okay. Well, the second half of it, maybe I misunderstood. The second half said like standards. So it almost sounded like because people are having higher standards, the crappy dudes are
right.
Is that
so
accurate?
So the way in the clickbait community of what we are is that now people don't have time to read the full article.
Sure.
So what people do is, so the headline is the rise of lonely single men, dating apps for drastically changing relationship landscape. That is the like headline. And then before you even get into the article are, here are the key points from this article that you're about to read. And if you don't want to, and you want to just screenshot and share it, which most people did. So it does say, dating.
Well, let's take a poll. Take a poll.
Okay.
Between
the three of us?
Yeah. Are you lonely?
Fun.
Are you guys lonely, single, heterosexual?
Dude, that's so deep.
Are you lonely? Just answer.
Are you happy?
No, are you lonely? That's what the article's saying, is that there's a plethora of,
as a single man, are you lonely? Of
lonely heterosexual single men. And
I'm gonna say I'm gonna say no. There are times I feel lonely, but at its core, I don't feel lonely. Talking about how often we talk in our group chat. I have friends from all over the country. Like I had a viral video about me and my high school boys. So like I have people in my life. Are there moments where I feel very lonely? 100%. But at its core, I do not feel.
What do you think percentage wise? How often are you feeling loneliness?
15% of the time, 10%. Like
okay.
I'm alone a lot of the times, but I'm comfortable with doing my, like, I need that recharge. That introvert in me needs that to be able to like go be extroverted and engaging and all that kind of stuff. Put myself out there on social media. I need to tap into that. And then I also need that recharge. So being alone is comfort in that. And then there are moments of feeling
loneliness. Alex, what about you? You got real quiet, Alex.
It's a lot. I mean, that's a big, and I also, I'm like trying to challenge myself a little bit because I hear a lot of what Jordan's saying. I mean, I don't know. I honestly feel 50-50. I feel so around people, and I'm, yesterday was a really interesting thing. I had the speaking event and, I spoke and it went great. And there's like 200 people and you really create a connection with them and they come up and they share about their lives and I'll hug them. And we have, we're taking photos. It's a very connective experience. And then 25 minutes later, I'm up alone in my hotel room, for 3 hours until I go to the airport to travel alone and come back to and I think just that stark reality of highs and lows. And I found myself going on social media for connection. Like, did anyone DM me? Which is like, that didn't feel good. Like just so desperate for, but I also, have such high quality people in my life, like you two, like men we admire, and shout
out men we admire.
Shout out men we admire. Theo Von has something that really hit home. Phenomenal. I know him from back in the day, LA, like acting stuff. And he's just a great dude. Obviously a hilarious comedian, but he said something, he goes, loneliness doesn't mean that you don't feel like you have people. It feels like no one has you. And that hit like just that maybe people see sides of you or shades of you or moments of you, but maybe I find this deep craving in my life of just really wanting someone to accept me for like all of the sides that I have, not even like 8/10 and tolerating maybe 2/10,
Right. No, I get that. And you're saying that because I think that's where my 10 or 15% comes in, where I feel, yes, I do have people. I have great people in my life, but there are definitely moments where I'm like, no one's messaging me, seeing how I'm doing the way that I feel like I'm reaching, like there are moments like that where I feel that way.
Sure.
But for you to say that you're at 50% of the time that you're feeling that.
Well, I think it's also, and I'm grateful for it. And, we don't have to deep dive on Webby Hour here, but I think it's the reality of some of my life choices too, where like, I really love what I do and I really feel like called to do it and purpose driven in speaking. The reality of that life path is a lot of hours alone. That's just the reality of it. Mm-hmm. So I guess it's not always sad loneliness though.
Right.
Can you have, it's not happy loneliness, but can you,
there's comforts in being alone. There's a difference of being alone and being lonely.
Yeah, I'm definitely closer to Weber than I am to Jordan in terms of like this is not an exaggeration. I think I'm like 80-20. 80% feeling lonely, 20% feeling like connected and with somebody. And it's really challenging because a lot of people will be like, "You have a daughter. Don't you guys just like connect?" Single parenting is one of the loneliest jobs on the fucking planet. And I love my daughter to death, like to pieces. But when I'm together, like I was at the beach on Sunday with two of my friends from college, and they've got two kids. They've been married 5 years, 6 years or something. And I was just like single dad on the beach. And Leia had a great time, but I was really sad the whole day because I was just like, what is this? You know? So and this happens with day to day, and then I will go and socialize. I'll meet friends, and that's when I feel whole, is when I'm physically with people. I love texting with you guys. I love the DMs on social, but it's not the same as like laying in bed with a lover or being out to dinner with friends. Like there's just no way to replicate that experience.
For sure. And I definitely have felt that. And to go off of Alex's point of like the passion of what we're doing. Like I love traveling with my dogs. I'm actually going on a camping trip, just us this weekend. Like, and I need that seclusion. I've been surrounded by a lot of people. So this is like the recharge that I need. But there have definitely been times I'm driving, an 8-hour day, and I'm like, no one's doing like this friction, this like aloneness. That's when I feel it. I was up in Seattle and I met up with two friends who have like young children, and they're in this married connected relationship. And I'm like, cool, I'm going to go with my dogs to this Airbnb that looks out on the sea. That's beautiful. Like this is what I've been working so hard towards, and it's so great. But I felt so alone staying at that Airbnb that night, seeing them just being happy and having these families and that calmness and the contentment from them was really interesting. As I'm like, I'm with my two dogs. Like,
what do you guys do to get through those lonely moments? Like, what is your go-to? Because I mean, for me, it used to be drinking, like that. Right. That's just, I just crack a beer. I'd be like, okay, at least I got a beer. And now I'm definitely more in the social media vein. I'll post a TikTok if I'm feeling really lonely, or like I'll try and post and get some comments just to feel validation.
Yep.
Definitely text girls, text somebody. Like, what do you guys do to get through that? I'll go to the gym. I'm trying to get abs like Jordan.
Thanks, guys, so much. Yeah, I mean, I think you hit on a lot of that. I think it's making a video, like posting something to hopefully get validation, like somewhat of being in your feels, because being real is such a it thing right now as well. And I mean, I'm very grateful for having this group chat and this like pocket, like that we're talking more regularly, to and being more empathetic with each other. Cause I do think, and Rob, it goes back to your point of like having a bros group chat where it's like sports and like all that kind of stuff, where I, being the Pisces of me, I'm very empathetic, and I'm the one my friends usually come to when they're dealing with stuff, but they're not often I've learned over time that they're not capable and receptive when I'm dealing with stuff. So that's extra when I feel lonely, because I'm like, I just need to like trauma dump a little. I just need to like talk to someone who can be there. And that's what's so great about therapy, but obviously they're not so readily available. So yeah, I definitely probably like throw on a movie that makes me like really happy, or,
Notebook?
No, that's not high on my rom-coms list. Would you call it a rom-com? Have we done this already?
No, it's a drama. It's a drama.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like maybe Crazy Stupid Love always makes
good
you feel,
movie.
yeah. That one's on Netflix right now. Threw that on the other day, but wasn't feeling lonely. Just wanted a little background noise like that. Yeah, I don't know. Just, and we kind of fall into our phones a little bit. I know that was long-winded on my end.
No, it's all
Alex, giving you some time because I know the deflection in you. So just
no. I
gotta
mean,
be
I
prepped
relate.
at this point.
It's all good. I relate with all those. I think I'm probably like a doer. Like, I don't know. Yesterday I was lonely, and it's like, okay, I guess I'll go to the gym only because it's like my mind's like, well, usually when you go to the gym, you feel better, you know? So, okay, I'll do that. I used to be drinking, but that's not in my life now, which I'm grateful for because that didn't usually net out positive. I don't know if this came to mind, you know, I do, or I'll work, you know, but I do I have trouble sitting still, but, and that's kind of why I do like driving sometimes, or like a road trip even, is like, you know, you just like are like, I guess I'm here. And putting on like really sad music, like my Spotify liked songs is bananas. It's like country, like sunshine and pickups. And then like the next side is like, we're in the ether of nothing. And like, you know, it's just like, but I love it, dude. A female vocalist singing, like Phoebe Bridges is one. It just gets you deep in your feels.
Check out Jasmine Thompson. She does a lot of really
Say
amazing
less,
covers.
locking off.
Casey Musgraves too.
She's good. She's good. She's good.
I was on a bit of a continuum kick over the last couple of days. Just needed that in the morning.
Continuum.
John Mayer just did not need to go that hard on that album, and it's
just
so
bangers only.
Just connects with me, but it also gets you very much in your feels. Like I was listening to the lyrics of "Stop This Train" and I was like, "What is happening? Why are we?"
But a good cry is good. I didn't.
Oh sure.
I will get worked up and choked up by. It's funny what'll hit you. It's funny what'll hit you. You know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. And I don't want to lump this into men because I know many women who struggle, you know, with emotions as well. And I know men who are just emotional basket cases. So I don't really think gender matters on this
Pisces.
one. Shout out Pisces. A good cry. Like I've had a couple, not a lot. Like in the last year, I've had two that came to mind, maybe three. And two of them I like stifled, you know, whether that was for social norms or my own discomfort. And I really only had one. Shout out ayahuasca retreat, that was like unfiltered depths of my soul crying. But like we have that emotion. I'm just kind of workshopping this. I mean, we have that emotion for a reason. We have that. It's a very weird thing. Our body's secreting like out of our eye holes. It's bananas. So like it must serve a purpose. So I don't know. Maybe we all got to cry.
It's also funny that you cry obviously from sadness, but you can also cry laughing.
Yeah. From joy. Yeah.
From joy.
Yeah.
What a beautiful thing.
Yeah, there's that release. And I wonder, because obviously there is a chemical release that happens in your body that like, that's why we're able to do it. So there's got to be some sort of like kickback emotionally of you suppressing that, because I always talk about like that buildup that happens in your chest and like just allowing yourself to let it crack. Like just releasing that is so necessary. Like there are times, you know, and that is if you're dealing with something or allowing it. I'm not one to like just casually be driving down the street and being like, I need a good cry right now. But like, you know, in the past when I've really been in my feels and needing that, needing that release. And so to suppress that has to be an interesting way of what's happening with the chemicals in your mind.
Yeah, if anyone has medical knowledge, please send us an article or should we do the questions?
Yeah, let's jump into some questions, eh?
Jordan, if you got one, I'll pull mine up too.
I've got one.
If Rob's got one ready.
Dude, we each have one. Have fun.
Okay, so we'll all play one. Should I go?
Yeah, do it. Do it.
Hi guys, Sarah here, Midwest gal, 37, never married, no kiddos.
Great.
My question is one I hope that honestly not a lot of people can relate to, but I would really, really respect your thoughts on it. I just finished a 15-month battle with cancer, and I'm honestly at a total loss of how to dive back into the dating scene. How exactly do I show up confidently after shaving my head last July when I used to have long brown hair, and now I just don't physically fully feel like myself? Do I need to disclose the cancer journey? How do I not be seen as damaged goods? Honestly, I'm here to tell you I have an unmatched fire for living life and chasing dreams post cancer. And I'm just really hoping guys can see that versus what's only skin deep. Thanks in advance for your thoughts.
Swoon.com.
Let's go,
Sarah. Yes. First of all, sending so much love your way, Sarah. Like 15 months of a cancer journey is no joke. Obviously I went through that with my wife. You are an amazing warrior, woman, person. And we'll get into all the dating side of it, but I just want to send you so much love and just fucking, you're awesome. Really. You're awesome.
Snaps. Yeah. Said it great.
Yeah. Underline, exclamation point. So, I mean, I'm going to go into this land because there's so many things you said. One is like, just like Rob said, you are a freaking warrior, and your energy, even just coming across in that, whoever planted that language that you said of damaged goods, if that came from your mind, if that came from society, if that came from a parent, if that came from whoever, throw that to the curb. And what you said at the end was your fire for life. That's who you are. And hair grows back. And so like any guy who's going to be about, or whoever you're interested in, they're going to be lucky to jump on the journey with you whenever you let them in. And if they can't see past anything, if they see anything besides the fire in you and how wonderful you are, they're just not the right dude. And onward, next, get out of here, schlub. You're the gold medal.
I'm so glad that you said that, because that's what I was going to say. That's the confidence that Alex always gives us each time we're like, hey, we're about to go on a date, or like it doesn't work out. And Alex always reminds us of like, you're the prize here. You're the gold medal. And I think you talked about how do you present yourself confidently. And it's just reminding yourself that like everything that you said about you have this fire and this passion for life, and you have this story the way that Rob does as well about being vulnerable and connecting with people who are receptive of that. And so just being wholeheartedly you, and the patience of, like Alex said too, hair's going to grow back. I dated a girl who had to cut off her hair like into a bob, because she dyed it a bunch of times and it was damaged. And I thought she was so pretty. And I was like invested of being like, I'm going to stick around because I know that like I'm excited to see this long hair. And I think you're so attractive right now. So just the way that that you look at yourself in the mirror and talk to yourself prior to going to it, being like, I look fucking good. I'm having a good time. And that's not always the easiest thing, but reminding yourself that you're the prize.
Yeah.
I'll just round out this question. And again, Sarah, thank you so much for being vulnerable and reaching out. Guys, if you're listening, like reach out to us at We Are Still Single. Send us your questions. We will definitely get all of them. Sarah, so when Noelle, she lost her hair, and I remember, a woman carries a lot of her beauty in her hair, a lot of her identity in her hair. And so losing your hair, shaving your hair because you're going through chemotherapy it's one of the hardest transformations that a woman can go through. So you've already done that. Like you've gotten past that, and now it sounds like you're healthy and you're on your way up. I would just embrace your story. And the more you can embrace your story as this is who you are, the sooner you will attract a man who's just like into your story and into you. So it's going back to what Alex and Jordan said of like your authentic self, but just embrace it. I don't think it's baggage. I think it's literally just what happened to you. And any douchebag that doesn't like you because you had cancer is a douchebag. So like, he's not for you.
Snaps.
So good.
Sarah,
hey,
keep
thanks for
crushing.
sending that.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
Will you send us an update too? Because we're on your team now. We're on your team.
We're Team Sarah.
I also have a message from Sarah.
Oh,
hard pivot on subject matter.
Different Sarah?
Different Sarah. I thought it was going to be the same, but very different subject matter.
Okay, great.
So I'm going to play, there's a couple of voice notes. I'll play it and kind of just share a bit.
Hold on. Let me just pause this and send it. Okay. One second.
So she also said, I want to say this. She said that we were like the three bears and she didn't know who to send the voice note to.
Nice.
She said Jordan had too many followers. Rob had normal people followers and I was somewhere in the middle.
That's such a good analogy.
I have normal people followers.
Big fan of a raspy voice though. Let's go.
And then like, you know, I was like sitting in my car. I'm like, okay, great. I'm not doing enough. Jordan.
So I'm the mama bear of the group.
I'm the baby bear.
So I need to be brief. So I'm going to get to my question. So recently I went on a first date and it was a great first date. I have been on a lot of dates recently and this like far surpassed many of the others that I've been on. So I was excited. And at the end of the date, he ended up coming to my house and we weren't like drunk or anything. Just had like a couple of drinks throughout the day. And we ended up like hooking up, didn't like completely have sex, but you know, pretty close. And so after the date, anytime like he's reached out, it's been like some like pretty like sexually forward type of text, which I don't know, I guess it almost like sets the precedent for like what your relationship is going to be with that person, like, you know, maybe just like a hookup type thing or whatever.
So Sarah's question, I'll paraphrase coming out of it was, well, she said, I get it. We're working on Instagram until we have a full production team. The question was, so she went on with this guy. It was a great first date. And then, you know, they got carried away, whatever. You're on a first date. It went well. There's no, you know, and they ended up hooking up. And then since then, he sent pretty sexual messages. So her first question was like, you know, should I have not hooked up with him? And also she said, is there no going back from that? Like, has damage been done from that? And so my quick response to that was, I think, and this kind of goes to what we said to Sarah Former, if a guy is going to go off what your connection is, and if a guy is going to treat you differently because of what naturally occurred on your first date, I think that's on him. And Rob's giving me a whole lot of looks. I don't know. I guess I'm saying if that's what felt right and you all had a great first date and you got, you know, things led to things. And I would just say, be really clear with him. Like, hey, I had a great time, but also like, I would like to move slowly now. And this is what I'm looking for. And then if he's not about it and keeps going into that direction, just like onward, because even if the first day was great, he's not that great.
First of all, Sarah,
Robbie Westside, Bobby Westside.
No. Look, there's at the core of me is a gentleman. I am a gentleman. I was trained well. I was brought up as a gentleman. There's definitely a sexual side of me. And I think that sexuality,
6'3", blue eyes, dimples.
Thank you. There's definitely a sexual side of me. And I think text, if you've been in a relationship with me, there has been sexy talk combos via text. Like it's a platform to engage in sexually. That being said, it's not the main thing. It's absolutely like the cherry on top. It's not the cake, right? Like I'm not like sending sexy texts all the time. And I think having that openness via text is just another form of communication. So if he's just like 90-10 sex talk, I think that's not a red flag, but it's just like, yeah, he's kind of defining how this relationship's going to be. And if you don't like it, I would just tell him straight up, like, hey, like I love our sexy banter, but I really want to get to know you better. And if he can respond to that like a gentleman and like take that really legit cue from you, then maybe there's promise. If he can't, then he sounds like he's like a 7th grader and he needs to grow up a little bit.
Love that. Well put too. I like that kind of that. I also like the tone Rob used, which was like, hey, you know, like that's great, but this is what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because sometimes
sexy banner is sexy banner. It's fun. It is fun, but it shouldn't be the majority of, I think, a text conversation. Jordan,
totally.
You're a sexy man.
You hit on all of it. There's a time and place for it when the energy is there. And then there's also of like, especially early on of like, hey, let's get to, you know, if that, yeah, there's just a time and place for it. That's all. You guys have said everything otherwise of just presenting yourself and setting the precedent of that either you're interested in that kind of communication or you're just like, hey, I'm trying to get to know you. I had a lot of fun. Can we, can we move forward in that positive way? I don't know if like, and once again, this is like damage being brought up again. Like, has the damage already been done? Like, have you gone too far? And it's just like, kind of like, once again, it goes back to communication. Just, can you set that precedent? Can you meet in the middle of like, hey, but that was a little rushed for me. Can we slow this down?
Yeah. And it
Tensions,
also
yeah.
snaps to, I guess, not having sex on the first date. There's zero judgment of people that have sex on the first date. I've been in both camps where I've had sex on the first date and I haven't had sex on the first date. Again, no judgment. I will say it is sometimes like for a woman to wait to have sex, I think it's a power move for starting a new relationship.
Sure. And this goes back to me bringing up Dan Savage again and how we value like a successful relationship is that
You love Dan Savage.
Yeah.
it's this, I mean, he's a really smart guy in this space. And so I think it's important to do some research around what we're talking about and get educated.
It's
And
like
so-
Anytime you bring up Dan Savage,
Yeah.
I always think you're talking about Fred Savage from the Wonder Years. And I'm
But-
just like, Fred Savage really knows love.
he did, this guy, he really went through it in the one.
I
year.
also played with a lacrosse guy in college called Dan Savage, so I picture him
Nice.
too. So
awesome, perfect. I'm
so
glad
we-
we're all making
everything you're
different
saying has
things
zero
tonight.
credibility.
So,
Yeah.
so what gets brought up though is that we are taught that the way that our parents and grandparents met and how it was is always this meet cute, because your parents aren't going to be like, oh yeah, we met at a bar or at a frat party and then went back to my dorm room and like knocked boots all night. Like, you're not going to be told that. Like, so people are either lying that they met in a wholesome way or telling the truth. And all we get growing up and all anyone actually talks about is the wholesome way. So to Rob's point, there's no judgment about hooking up on the first night in any level, but like, it's okay to have happen too. We're sexual creatures. Like, there's nothing wrong with doing that. And, the power moves and all that, then it gets into a little like gaming it, but
I agree.
it's okay.
I think distilling everything down, I think intentions and communication, which is really, I'm kind of like, that might just be all of dating, right? Intentions and communication.
All of relationship.
Yeah.
100%.
So if this guy you'll find out his intentions by saying what these guys are saying, the communication of this is what I'm looking for. But you didn't do anything wrong, Sarah. You were just
Sarah, we love
just being lovely on a first date, having a couple cocktails, having some fun.
Just get in after it. Sarah, we love you. We're sending you so much love. And thank you again for sending in your question. Do we got one more question to round out this
I
episode?
think J-Town.
I do have one. It seems like it's a pretty like easy answer. So I want to bring up another video that presented something I sent to the group chat that was talking about if you're talking to a guy, and I want to know you guys are like leaning in really
We're
ready
guys.
for this. Yeah, exactly.
What's up?
So as a guy, if you a guy will let you know that he's into you, but if you're confused, then he's not into you. So when you're like, I can't read you, or I'm getting mixed signals, they're not into you. Do you agree or disagree with that sentiment?
I
'Cause
agree, regardless of gender. I agree. I mean, we all work with different clients in our different industries. I think it applies there too. Like if people want you, you'll know. And if not, you'll be confused. And I think that's like a really great, honest way of looking at it.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I was just caught dazing and confused about like my some business relationships. I'm like, do they actually like me?
Right. You're reflecting on it now.
Yeah. Like, do they like me, or am I just annoying? And but I deliver. Like I deliver, but I'm like, do they like me? And I think if you're in a relationship with a guy or a girl and you're confused, there's nothing wrong with just being like, hey, where are we at? What's going on? The worst that can happen is the guy or girl just gets flustered and it ends things. Obviously,
Yeah.
there's a sweet, like the sweet spot of time. You don't want to define the relationship too soon. So there is this sweet spot and you got to kind of sense it and notice it. And I've definitely been
sweet.
scared away where I've been dating girls and they're just like, so we're like dating, right? Or like we're like exclusive, right? And I'll just be like, I can't believe, like, I don't know. And then that, like, then it, based on my gut reaction, I'm just like, I guess we're not. Like, I guess this isn't the person.
Right. It makes me think about the handful of times in the past that I've sent the like, hey, our vibe's off. Like, what, and like,
And you already know the answer.
Yeah.
You
It's like,
already
I've
know.
never come back in a positive sense of sending the vibes off between us. Like,
we all good?
Like,
Yeah. Like,
and I've known at this point is that I don't need to say that. It's just like, oh, the vibe's off. Oh, I'm taking that hint. I don't need to present her with this to have this like, tell me why you don't like me conversation. So it's just kind of like, yeah.
This year is the first year where I've, instead of like lashing out breakup, I'm just like, I just slowly disappear into the woods.
no,
Like,
Bobby
no.
Ghosty, Bobby
No.
Ghosty.
No, not ghosty. Just like, it's just, there's less communication, and it's not like I would ever ghost them. I'm just not reaching out. And if they are reaching out, I always respond. I'm not a ghoster. I don't ghost.
I think also we all have our own journey, and like something you said, Rob, which is you also met Noelle. I mean, I think you were in a relationship not far before Noelle, maybe a couple years.
Dude, like 6 months before, maybe.
And then
9
you met
months.
Noelle when you were what, 25?
23. I was a baby.
23, and then you were all together, and then you have Leia. So I also think like you do have a gentleman's heart. It's wrapped in a big, beautiful barbarian, but you have a gentleman's and you have a great heart. You really do.
Thank
And
you.
I think like I'm seeing that with you of like giving yourself a little more grace of navigating singledom. And I think we are really hard on ourselves. And I think we all really want to be like super upfront. Like, and I really think we're doing a pretty darn good, not great job. But I think also to your point, Rob, like you've in your life journey, I think you can be single and just navigate that,
No, honestly, this is the first time in my life where I'm like, this is okay. And honestly, going back to like the loneliness thing of like the 80-20, like maybe this is my challenge. This is my like the challenge of the season is just like coming into my own, being okay with the loneliness, like turning that loneliness into a positive time versus this, like, I am missing something. There's something missing. Obviously, I am missing my wife. So it's hard, but it goes into acceptance of this is my reality, surrender to it, enjoy it, and try and find comfort in it.
Love you guys.
Guys, what an episode. We need to warm up. I think it takes us a little time.
I always want that. And Rob's like, just hit record right now. And I'm like, I haven't even stretched yet. We haven't even like, what are we talking about today? Like, I know I send it like texts about it throughout the weekend. I was trying to scroll through, but we just text each other so much that and so many things happen. But
I think
really
I think this episode and the last episode, episode 7, is one of our couple of our strongest episodes. So guys, if you've been on this journey with us, you've binged these episodes, you're part of the Still Single nation over here, Still Single.
You gotta think of a name for that. Yeah.
We love you. We really do. We appreciate your guys' questions. We've read some of the comments on Apple Podcasts and the ratings, and they're just like so validating and just pump us up so much. So please continue to message us. You can message any one of us on social media. On Instagram, I'm at Single Girl Dad. There's at I'm Alex Weber and at Jordan Kahana. And then we are launching a bunch of video content on our at We Are Still Single Instagram, as well as on TikTok, Still Single Pod. So just follow us.
Follow us. Don't be intimidated by Jordan's followers. He checks everything. He's so lonely. 50% of the time.
If I don't respond, I say I just get too many and I don't see it. I see them all. So especially so knowing where my value is if you're sending DMs to other people, know they see it. It's so easily accessible.
And I have like a normal person amount of followers. So like you can totally DM me and I will respond. I respond to every message because there aren't that many. I saw Jordan's requests box. There was like 32 requests in your DMs. It was insane. I get like 1 or 2 and I'm like, ooh, I'm famous. I'm Instagram famous.
Well, I was actually kind of bummed because when the puppy rescue video really blew up, it had like 99 plus there for a while.
Ooh, that's
and then
hot.
and it had been a couple years, so they started deleting them. So I was really sad like seeing that number drop because it was just like an ego boost of like 99 plus for a really long time.
99
and then-
bitches and a bitch ain't. All right, that's not the lyric. It's 99 problems.
I just like this is such an interesting reality because I just
Finish
can't.
strong. Finish strong right now.
It's not. It's gonna be like another 30-minute diverge. I just can't stop thinking about my buddy from the lacrosse tournament who doesn't have social media but has a wife, a baby, and a house. And we're like, "How many direct messages did you get?" And he'd be like, he'd be honest, be like, "What are you guys talking about?" Like,
Wait, is that Dan
grow up.
Savage?
Yeah,
Dan
I thought you
Savage,
were
your
going Dan
lacrosse
Savage.
buddy?
Yeah.
I don't know,
Dan
man.
Savage from lacrosse.
I don't know, guys. I don't know.
Well, again, thank you guys for tuning in to today's episode. We love you. Send us in your questions. We'll play them. And, authentic self. I think that's what this episode boiled down to, authentic self and communication. So, just send in love.
Love y'all.
Hope you guys mean it.